Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey! I'm so excited. We are here for another episode of the Dr. Kiki Ramsey Show. And y'all, do I not have a treat for you today? We got DeAndra Michelle in the building, and we are going to be talking all about discovering who you really are. Hello, DeAndra.
Hello. Hey, Dr.
I am
Kiki.
so excited that you're here to be
Thank
having
you.
this conversation because, as you can see behind the scenes, we are who we really are.
Yes, for sure. For
For
sure.
sure, for sure. So if you guys are actually joining us live, go ahead and pop over your name and where you're tuning in from in the chat so that we can potentially give you a shout out on today's session. But I'm excited because, this topic right here, discovering who you really are, is so dear and near to my heart because, I mean, honey, some days I feel like, am I in the still discovering? Am I still becoming like our forever first lady Michelle Obama, right? Because it's one of those things that you can wake up one day and be like, hmm, well, this didn't happen the way,
Yeah.
or my life is not going the way, or you
Yeah.
know. So I'm happy that we are having this conversation because I know for a fact that we're not the only ones
Yes.
to be feeling this way and to want to really understand who we are in this big, vast world that we're living
Yeah.
in,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So
Agree.
I'm
So
so
I definitely
excited.
agree with that. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Hey.
And shout out to Auntie Michelle. Yes,
Hey.
forever first lady.
Right, exactly, exactly. Well, I want you to first of all take a minute to kind of introduce yourself to all of us because I think that this conversation couldn't be more fitting with somebody like yourself.
Thank you. So my name is DeAndra Michelle, and I come from Tampa, Florida. It's a beautiful place if you haven't been, but I've resided in Washington, D.C. for nearly 20 years, and I just moved. I'm not even 2 weeks into this move yet to Virginia. So hello, Virginia.
Okay,
Y'all out here. This is nice.
Virginia in the house, the DMV.
Yes, so I'm excited. I'm a new Virginia resident. I had the pleasure of going to the illustrious Howard University to earn my undergrad degree in psychology, and I actually have a master's in IO psychology, and I'm currently a PhD student pursuing my PhD in business psychology with a concentration in consulting. So
Wow.
I'm like very hyped to be here.
Yes, yes, yes. And so we met while I was a professor at
Yes,
the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, where you are
yes,
getting your PhD, where I got my PhD from as well. Shout out to
yes.
the Chicago School, fam, right?
Yes.
And so, but I fell in love with you and just your personality and your spirit and just your glow. Like, I mean, I don't know if people can see it. I hope they can because you have a glow about yourself. And when you walk into a room, you're like, you know what? Yes, good people right there. Good people. And just learning about you and your story, I was like, oh, this right here be so amazing to have you on the Dr. Kiki Ramsey show. So, hey, Siobhan, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy to see you here. It's been a long time since we last saw each other, and so I'm very very excited. So I love to always start off the show with asking all of my guests, "What is your superpower?" AKA your strengths. Because
Yeah.
over here on the Dr. Kiki Ramsey show, we all about creating your own happiness. Okay.
Look here. Yes. So I would say, okay, being true to myself, because we're talking about discovering who we really are. I feel I have more than one superpower, which could sound taboo to say in this day and
No.
age,
Mm-mm.
but I believe that we are people who are full of many gifts. And so my two core superpowers are a commitment to truth and excellence. And those are the things that I feel have challenged myself. It's cultivated me. It's also created opportunities for success and growth and it's benefited others. And so for me, when I think about how I enter into a space, how I enter into a room, I come with truth and I come with excellence. And I think a lot of society, when we look at corporations and business, sometimes they have fallen off when we think about what they really stand for. They've lost their way. They're not true to what their mission was. They kind of lost in the government and military space a commitment to mission integrity. And so that truth has kind of dissolved a little bit. And then sometimes there's also not a commitment to excellence. And we sometimes think that excellence is this thing that others have to set and establish for us. But from my experience, when we have our own barometer of excellence, we come with a standard of performance that can exceed even what people call great. And so when you surpass great, I mean, you're powerful if you ask me. So yes, greatness is the bottom tier for me. We're going to be better than great.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I was just having a conversation with somebody the other day. We were talking about surviving versus thriving.
Yeah.
We don't want to just survive, baby. We want to thrive.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And we live in a world in which we can do that. And I think that message gets lost because we feel like we see so much, so many bad things on the news and just all this kind of stuff. Social media can propagate so much bad, content that we forget there's people out here thriving and there's people out here doing better than great. So why can't we be there? Right?
Exactly.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you, Miss Brown, for joining us on the show today. Excited to see you and have you here with us. Okay, so first of all, we're talking about discovering who you really are. I just want to ask you, why is that important? Like, why is understanding who we are super important to us, especially in today's day?
So that's a great question. One of the main reasons discovering who you are is integral to your entire existence is because, one, when you don't know who you are, you run the risk of living the life of an imposter. And we hear about the imposter syndrome, right? Where it talks about not feeling like you're confident, capable, and worthy of being in a space. But it's not just that. You can live most of your life even going down a path that was never meant for you. You can become a renowned physician when you was actually supposed to be the first ever teacher to do something that we never heard of and create some kind of curriculum that can change the education system for decades. But we know you as a physician, but that wasn't your purpose. And so when you start living a life and building successes or thinking what you're calling success in a domain that wasn't really purpose for you, you may have the approval of man, and that's great, I guess, but you may have left the world vacant of what you were really supposed to contribute. And so imagine a world that is filled with vacuums and there's voids all around us because we have people who have not tapped into their true identity, their true purpose. And so we have cures and inventions and ideas that are waiting to come into this existence, and we've missed it because lack of identity. And I've had to learn that it's not that grandiose to think this way, that it's not idealistic or a romanticized view of life, that it is very tangible to see that our identity is directly related and correlated to what we produce to change this world. And so I don't want to be a counterfeit. I've lived life long enough as a counterfeit. That time is over. And it costs you more if you don't know that.
Y'all, she over here dropping the jewels already. We got the chat blowing up. ABS Smith said, wow. Thank you, Nicole, for joining. Right. Siobhan says, this is powerful perspective. And it truly, truly is. Because I do think that people can miss their calling because they don't really, know who they are. It's kind of like we sit around and our mama said we should be a doctor. And so God forbid we try to go be a scientist because we want to be a doctor. And we sitting over here living lives that we hate.
Yes.
Because we are not true to ourselves.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so, oh my God. Okay. So here is the thing. I know you got a story around this, and you have got to share, your story of becoming and discovering who you really are with us so that it can really give us context of what this then looks like, that counterfeit versus, okay, world, I'm here now walking in my whole truth. And this is who Michelle is, right?
Yeah.
Share with us.
Okay. So, wow. I'm going to try to condense it and pull all the highlights out. Amen. So I grew up in the church, and that was beautiful and lovely, but it was not an introduction to my core identity in terms of who I really am. And I grew up in a family that was very, very intentional about education and being correct. And that wasn't a core identity of who I am. I grew up in a community that was focused on performing and doing the right things, but it became about doing and less about being. And so if you fast forward this very high level of my childhood, I realized around my 20s that I had become a person who was very good at performing. I was very good at doing the thing that I was asked to do. I could do it correctly, I could do it accurately, I could do it well, and I can probably do it better than others. But I was miserable, I was depressed, I was very doubtful of who I was. Quite frankly, I didn't know. And that led me to one of the first pivotal moments, what I call, I won't say a waste of time, but it was definitely a journey. I started pursuing this MBA program in my mid 20s because I believed that if I wanted to start a business, if I wanted to have this grand thing, I needed to go get this MBA because that's what people do, right? They go get another degree. Sounds good. Until everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. Like I was giving out my resume with spelling mistakes on it. So now I'm like embarrassed, like, DeAndra, that's not cute. How did you do that? And it became very clear that this wasn't my path. Nothing was opening up for me. Like I had all these like a first date, if you would, with different recruiters from different schools, and nothing was opening up. And so I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I felt led to start businesses. I felt led to do all these things. I thought I was going to be a therapist at one point, and then it was like, nah, that ain't it. And so I started living a life where my auntie even called me out on it one day. She was like, you've been kind of wandering aimlessly, and I've just been letting you do that. And I'm like, wow, sis, you couldn't step in and just say a little something, like you going a little off the track.
Right.
And for a moment, I resented that. I resented that treatment. But in that, her watchful watching and careful watching, I've learned in hindsight that if I probably went too far, she would have stepped in. But I think it was a part of my journey to learn your life doesn't have to look like everyone else's life, and your path doesn't have to look like everyone's path. Yes, you have an affinity for these things, but figure out what is your true purpose. And so I went from pursuing a MBA program to recognizing that I had on the job training because of where I sat in my organization. And I started to think of it differently and say, well, DeAndra, you've been given an opportunity to learn as you get paid to do a job. You're now sitting in offices with vice presidents of companies. You're talking to organizational leaders who are one step above you in the chain of command. You have direct relationship. You're sitting in office spaces that people have worked 20 years for, and you can go down a hall and talk to someone and ask them a question. Why don't you leverage this part? But then that meant I had to confront a part of my imposter nature, which was that I'm not worthy to be in these spaces, that I'm not worthy to be in front of these audiences. And that conflict started to emerge when I was in this particular organization, having all this access. And I was confronted with senior people who had decades more of experience than me, but I knew that I could do something different. And I knew that if we took a different route than what we did last year, we would be a better organization for it. And finding my voice, I went from couching behind like couches and hiding myself to the other extreme, being a little too bold, a little too vocal, and then learning how to reel that in and find that sweet spot where I could speak truth to power, but also embrace humility, because both of those are authentic expressions of who I am. And so when I didn't know who I was, I lived in fear, like constantly. When I didn't know who I was, I did everything because I thought if I did everything, people would like me. When I didn't know who I was, I took jobs that really weren't for me. When I didn't know who I was, I didn't have a no to give. I'm very fluent in no. I can speak no in many languages. No, thank you, not now. Can I think about it? If you give me another chance, come back to me Thursday. All of those are forms of no. And
Yes.
so, but not knowing who you are, You be like, okay.
I love it. Wow.
Um,
Well, first of all, you said so much that I'm like, okay, I can talk about that, talk about that, talk about that. But one thing that really did stood out to me was that you found yourself in an environment where you began to feel like the imposter. But it sounds like, and I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that this environment gave you the flexibility to grow into who you are or the woman who you wanted to show up as and be, and it gave you that. So it gave you the good, bad, and the ugly, right? Like it gave you you were there. You're like, wait a minute, I'm in these spaces. Okay, I'm in these spaces. Wait a minute, I'm in these spaces.
I'm in these
You know,
spaces.
like it's the same sentence, but you know, we go from the extremes. And so, how important is it that you get into a space that allows you to grow, to become the person who you were meant to be, or not even just get into, create the space? Because sometimes we're not given much at all. We have to create it.
See, now that's a whole thing. So I have a perspective on both of those. I think when we are given the opportunity to be in a space that does contribute to our growth, how we view ourselves will directly translate to how we perceive our capacity for growth. So if I don't think that I'm worthy to even receive this teaching because I'm in my 20s and there are people who are been waiting for 30 years to get to this spot to have to sit under like the tutelage of these type of people, then I'm not going to actually fully take hold of all of this atmosphere that's made available to me. And so I think that when we are graced to have those opportunities, you have to walk in knowing that you're worth being here, that this is for you, and that you're valid, you're solidified in who you are. The fact that you're existing is for a reason. And so when you get a person or an organization behind you, don't squander that opportunity. But if you don't know who you are, and part of that is knowing your worth, then you probably won't even recognize that the opportunity exists. In contrast, if you don't have those opportunities, you have to create them. One of the, there's a psychologist, I forget her first name, but her last name is Dweck. And she deals with this growth mind, Carol Dweck. And she, Dr. Dweck deals with like growth mindset. And that's been something that I've been working on intentionally because, again, not knowing who I was made me fearful of all the possibilities. And so when you look at this growth mindset, it takes on the possibility of a thing. And you start to see things that aren't necessarily existing yet, but could be. And so you start to create the table. I think culture has created a narrative that is a little toxic, even though I know it's kind of birthed out of just self-love and self-esteem, which is don't try to sit at a table where you're not welcome, create your own. And while I get the heart of that message, we shouldn't create things that are a retaliation against not having something, because now you're going to create to spite another thing. And that's not a harmonious thing. That's not who we really are as people. And so when we think about our identity and we think about our core values as humans, as individuals, I believe having a growth mindset is not creating because you didn't have, and so I'm going to show up and say, oh, you can't, you don't got to give it to me, I'm gonna make it myself. No. I think having a growth mindset is the perfect mindset for being creative. It's the perfect mindset for creating possibilities that are inclusive, that are equitable, that are diverse, and they challenge today's systems and say, I didn't know we needed that. I'm glad you created that. How can we make this available and accessible to others? And so I think, part of knowing who you are, it informs how you even see opportunity, if you can even detect it, because most people who don't know who they are, they can't see what's for them because they don't believe that it relates to who they are today.
I love that. And I think that you're so right. I think that when we are trying to think about who we are, we have to silence the voices, right? We have to silence the voices of other people because people got opinions. Child, if I had one penny for everybody who got an opinion about me, about you, about like anything, baby, we would just be, I mean, out of this trillionaires, what's the highest, right? That kind of thing. Because And so when I was looking, to discover who I really was, one of the things that I had to do was I had to, get off of social. I had to stop, soliciting other people's opinions and thoughts about myself, because it was very apparent that I wasn't going to figure out who I was based on what other people thought I was, right? What is it that I think I am? And I can remember going on this journey of business, like you talked about, right? Like going on this journey of business and wanting to become a speaker and thinking that, oh, okay, well, who's gonna listen to me? I mean, I have a story, but I was a teenage mom. There's plenty of people who are teenage moms. There's plenty of people who deal with parent addiction and stuff like that. But those experiences shaped who I am today, right? And in light of all those experiences, I became, right? I went down the direction of getting a PhD because I really wanted to learn how to help women to discover their own purpose, discover their own truth, to live their best lives. But I had to silence the people. I had to silence the inner critic. Right. That was in me to say, I am worthy to be in all these spaces. I'm worthy to be in front of all these people. And it was a journey and it was hard. And so talk about, the journey and how to really overcome the fact that it's going to be hard.
Well, part of my journey has been getting a therapist. I'm an advocate for mental health. And on my very first therapy session, he gave me this book, and it was called, it's a really thin book. It's very easy to read, but it's called Negative Self-Talk and How to Change It. And part of that journey of becoming and knowing who I am has been, to your point about that inner critic, is changing how I speak to myself. I found that I was very hard on myself, not just in like how I felt towards me, but how I spoke to me. Like I had a very harsh set of language and tone that I used exclusively for myself. And one of the hardest things for me has been being intentional about changing how I speak about me. And one of the things I would say, if you are interested in that, is get that book for one, because as a nerd that I am, it talks about neuroplasticity, which is amazing, but it's an easy read. I promise you won't geek out.
We're talking about growth mindset.
Yeah, say again.
That's what we're talking about, growth mindset.
Oh no, the negative self-talk and how to change it.
There we go. Okay. I wanted to make sure we drop that book so that people could get it. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Kiki. Yes. So Negative Self-Talk and How to Change It. And this book will take you on a journey. And what's amazing about it is, this is what I learned from this book, was the way we talk about ourselves can change. It literally remaps our brain, and it doesn't take years. It can happen in weeks. So just by changing your narrative, you can literally change the structure of your brain and start making new connections neurologically that are positive. And so, change how you speak. I had to start calling myself nicknames that I had given to other people, but no one called me. And that may sound weird, but I'd be like, okay, sweet pea, okay, beautiful. Like, those are the things I call others. Why don't I talk to myself like that? I am sweet. I am beautiful. Use those names. That has been helpful. I would say, even though the journey is hard, what the part to me that made it harder than what it had to be was not embracing community. So here's the thing.
Let's talk about it.
I like being by myself. Okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I am low-key an introvert. Most people don't believe me, but I am. I love my space. But I had become toxic in that. And I wasn't allowing myself to be benefited by wise counsel, good friends. And I have a circle, a community now of amazing humans who they hold up a mirror to me in love, not in like critique that tears me down.
Mm-hmm.
They can challenge me and respect me at the same time. And when I started to build that community intentionally and be open to it, and started to, again, thinking about a growth mindset, growing beyond just myself and building what I never had. I wasn't given a community. I had to nurture and cultivate that intentionally. And while that was hard, because if that's not you and you like to be by yourself,
yeah,
it could be a challenge. But then I had to then dig deeper. Here's the tricky part, you all. If you're not willing to do the work, if you're not willing to be uncomfortable with finding out that who you think you are may not be who you really are, you won't do it.
Ooh,
It's going to get uncomfortable.
It is. It's going. Oh my God, you said so much. I see Miss Maul, thank you for joining. Gail, thank you for joining. The chat over here is blowing up because people are like, this on point, you on point, right? Because it's going to get uncomfortable. It really, really is. And I think that we have to embrace that. But I love what you said about community, because I think community is so important. Like, I have built, a beautiful community around myself as well, who believes in me. And so I'm able to show up every day in who I am, because I've embraced who that is. But you are going to probably go through something to figure it out. And the chances of you coming out on the other side of really understanding who you are is great if you're willing to go through the fire. Right. Yeah. And so we only have a couple more minutes left of the show, which I'm telling you, it goes by so fast. And so you went over some ways that we think that people can really begin to discover who they are. Getting community is one. Start silencing your own inner critic and the opinions of other people, so that you can get to yourself and understand who you really want to be. What else do you want to leave the audience with in terms of, a surefire way that can help them understand who they really are?
Absolutely. I would say another thing that I've been on a journey on to help me discover who I am is be mindful that I don't have to be one thing. And so the phrase that came to me was seek harmony and not reductive singularity. So oftentimes people try to put us into a box of one thing, or she's the accountant, or he's the banker, or he's the cook. No, I'm the cook, the chef, the barber, the auntie, uncle. I'm all the things, and they can all coexist and converge, which is a theme in my life. I believe that we should seek a convergence, a harmony of all of the aspects of who we are. So when we think about discovering who we are, don't look at it as just losing a current identity. Look at it as embracing all of who you really are supposed to be in this world. And you don't have to reduce it to one thing, not a reductive point of singularity, but harmony, and watch your world explode and the people around you. You'll start to attract more things and more people that are relevant to your whole person, because you're now tapping into the wholeness of who you are. And so that, to me, is my last tip.
Seek harmony. I love it. Seek harmony. I love that. And I call it be a multi-passionate, right? Like, we're multi-passionate beings, right?
Yes.
And we can do all the things. Well, one of my core beliefs is that you can literally be the things. I can be successful, but yet have failures. Right? I can be a successful businesswoman, but yet have an awesome family at the same time, right? I can be happy and also be unhappy at some moments in my life, right? And so I really think that this method of and, right, versus not or, but and, both things can be true at the same time. You can really go on a journey of discovering who you are, and also have some difficult times while doing that, right? Because you're going to, right? Oh, thank you, Miss Mahan, for joining. It's so good to see you on the show today. Well, this has been a lovely, lovely, lovely conversation. I hope that you all who are listening walked away with a couple things that you need to do, or that you can implement into your own life as it pertains to really discovering who you are. It is a journey, and you can wake up tomorrow and be like, I don't like this person I've become.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, let's figure out how to get to the person who
Yes.
you really are, and then
Yes.
begin loving that person. So share with everybody how they can get in touch with you, how on social, what you got going on. I mean, I heard you mention the Convergence Lab. Convergence. I know about it, but they might not. I don't know if you want to put it out there yet. But I'm just
Sure.
saying, like, I think that they want to know.
Awesome. Yeah. So you can follow me on Instagram at DeAndra Michelle underscore or DeAndra underscore Michelle. That's my personal page. And then for my business page, you can follow me at the Convergence Lab. And I'm actually in the process of starting 2 micro blogs, one for my personal page and one for the Convergence Lab. And there will be a lot more coming following that blog as well. And then I'm on LinkedIn as well as DeAndra Michelle also. And so you can follow me there. You'll be able to start to see some more longer content than what you would get on Instagram. So follow me on all of those platforms. And thank you again, Dr. Kiki, for having
I'm
me.
so excited. Y'all, if you follow her on Instagram, she's so motivational and inspirational. You'll see her on there singing, child. She on there working out. She doing all the things, okay? So I am truly a fan, and I follow because I love to see, what you put out there in your beautiful, authentic self. And so I'm excited, right? And so you all, if you are listening to the show today, share this with somebody. I know that this is going to bless somebody. I only try to have guests on that are going to give, and you were given today. You gave what needed to be given today on the Dr. Kiki Ramsey show. And I'm so excited just to, number one, to see you grow, right? I see beautiful things in your future. And I'm just so proud of you and the way that you are gifting the world with your gifts, right?
Thank you.
And if you're listening to me, I would love for you all to join me in Happy Women Lead, because Happy Women do lead. It is our premier community for professional women leaders who want to also be successful and have a family and, also have all the things and be top, at the top of their careers. And so if you want to go to happywomenlead.com and join us. We're currently in our 7-day happiness challenge. But even if it's over by the time you join, you still have access to that. I would love to see you all and share this with a friend. We are the gift that keeps on giving. And remember that you can create your own happiness. All right, y'all. Take care. Talk to y'all next week.